Greetings, beloved light warriors. It's Saratoga, and this is your weekly focus card reading for the week beginning February 15th through February 21st, 2021. And if you're new to my channel, you should know that this is something I do every Sunday so that we can reset our focus and our energy for the coming week ahead. And then I do my on-camera videos on Tuesdays and Fridays. Okay, let us take a look at this card for the coming week. I am so glad to get this card because of what it's going to give me an opportunity to share with you guys. So, all right, it says topaz at the top, the stone topaz. I don't really feel that that stone is relevant to this reading. Not entirely sure why it's there. I guess I could find a reason, but I'm not going to try because what's more important to me is the image on the card and the message at the bottom. Now, before I continue, if you see anything in this card that you want to take as a personal message for you as an individual, feel free to do so. I'm going to be speaking in a much broader, more general fashion, and I think you're going to find what I have to say about this card very, very interesting. So the card says, forgiveness heals. And underneath it says, time to release repressed anger as it's blocking your health and happiness. There is so much I want to say about that sentence. And I'm going to talk about this sentence first, then we will get into the image on the card itself. So, don't you just love it when people say, just release that repressed anger, you know, just let it go, it's not doing you any good. Don't you just love hearing that? And then you try and it's like, How am I supposed to release anger, right? Have you ever tried to release anger? It doesn't work, does it? Hey, I'm going to be the first to say it, guys. It does not work. So what I'm going to share with you all right now is exactly why it doesn't work. And what is the underlying cause of that anger, whether it's repressed anger or whether it's open anger, it doesn't matter, any kind of anger at all. You cannot just release anger. You can bury it, you can repress it, you can refuse to express it, but you can't just release it. Here's why. Underneath anger is fear. The reason you feel anger for anything is because there's something underlying that anger that you are afraid of. And the anger is a way to protect yourself because anger is a repellent. It's designed to repel, it's designed to push away, it's designed, in many, many forms, whether it's to intimidate somebody, whether it's to protect you, it's like a guard, right? So even if you have repressed anger, it's the same thing. Why would you be holding on to anger? Why would anyone want to hold on to anger? Because what's causing the anger is fear. Fear and anger are married to each other. They literally are. So if you will have anger issues or you have something you're angry about and you want to eliminate that anger, you need to go underneath that anger and say, what is it that I'm afraid of? What is the fear that is causing me to feel this anger? Okay. Now you guys can look at, I'll give you a great example of how this works. Let's just take a big, example everybody knows about, the political situation, right? Certainly in this country. So you have the two sides, both sides kind of hate the other side, right? There's a lot of anger on both sides, a tremendous amount of anger toward the opposite side. Now, why do you think there's so much anger? Okay, Republicans versus Democrats or whatever. The reason there's so much anger is because the media has stoked incredible fear on both sides. So each side thinks the other side is literally going to destroy their life. That puts the people on each side in a state of tremendous fear and terror. So their anger at the other side is meant to be like a repellent, like stay away, don't you do what I'm so afraid you're going to do, you better not do this, or it's like a threat, right? So the anger is designed to protect you from being harmed in some way. That's what it's for. Okay, you even see this in the animal kingdom, where a wild animal might be displaying tremendous anger. It's a protective mechanism. It's very, very primitive. It's also the product of duality. So there's an entire physics that underlies the experience of fear and anger. Okay, it's the physics of duality. It's the physics of this dimension that we find ourselves in. So this is why you can't just, oh, let's just release our anger. Oh, how wonderful. I'm sorry, guys. That just always cracks me up every time I hear that, because I know you can't do it by focusing on the anger. Okay, so I'm so happy to have pulled this card because it gives me an opportunity to share this information with you, which I think is seriously important. Now, you could have anger on a personal level. You could have anger on a broader level. It could be like the mass political anger, or it could be anger towards the lockdowns and all that stuff, right? I mean, I'm sure everyone would agree, well, that seems very legitimate to be angry about the lockdowns and angry about restricting our freedom. That sounds completely legitimate. Well, sure, but it's not about whether or not it's legitimate. It's about, why is it there? Why are you angry? Not that you shouldn't be, but what I'm saying is underneath that anger is a fear. It's a very frightening thing to have your freedom taken away. That's a terrifying experience for any creature, human or animal, it doesn't matter. Again, this is all very primitive stuff. Okay, so that's why there's more and more anger. So you might even find yourself, if you're really tuned into the larger collective situation we're experiencing, you might find yourself vacillating between fear and anger. And this would be the reason why. Because you are feeling threatened. And it's obvious why a person would feel threatened. See, guys, this is why I always say you gotta live from an extraterrestrial perspective, from a cosmic perspective, because it takes you out of this dynamic that I'm describing to you. Okay, that's what takes you out of it. That's what shifts your perspective. So now let's look at where it says it's blocking your health and happiness. Well, I want to take health and happiness to a whole different level, to a whole different realm. So let's look at the image on the card. This is a beautiful image. This person, this is so cool how this is, this painting, because if you look at this person at their heart center, there's this amazing, what looks like a gateway, right? And I always say that to you guys. I always say the heart is your gateway to the infinite, your gateway to the universe. Well, this card depicts that. It also depicts the role of the heart and the mind together. Now, I know it doesn't appear to have anything to do with the words at the bottom, but I'll explain what I see as a connection in a moment. So we see that the larger energy, the more powerful energy, it's almost like you look into that, through that gateway at that heart center, and it looks like there's this beautiful castle. It's like a city of light. It's just amazing, right? It's like something has parted, something has opened up. That's the truth, that's the reality. And then you see those beams of light going up to what looks like the third eye and the crown chakra. Well, let's just say, for purposes of this reading, let's just say that energy of the truth of that heart and what that gateway leads to is meant to inform the mind about reality. It's meant to inform the mind about where you actually belong, where you really are supposed to be in this universe, not in a state of duality. And yeah, it's kind of interesting because as I'm looking at this card around that heart center with that castle, it looks like there's two, I don't know if those are supposed to be stones or rocks or whatever, but it's like something has divided. That could even represent duality, like that's what's on the other side of the duality of fear and anger. What's on the other side is the truth. So if we go back to the message, the written message, time to, well, you know what I think about releasing. If you do what I suggested, if you look at it, find out what you're afraid of and deal with the fear, it's blocking your health and happiness. Health and happiness at what level? Do you just want health and happiness at an earth-based level? That's awesome. You should have that, no question about it. You absolutely need to have health and happiness on this planet on a physical level. But in the way I'm talking about this, we can take this further. We can say health and happiness in terms of your actual design as a human being, your actual design as a cosmic being, your design as an infinite being. That's what that gateway in the heart is meant to show you and remind you of. and bring the vision of that into your higher mind, which aligns your entire presence, aligns your physical self. When you're really deeply connected to that truth and that reality, it gives you the capacity to see the duality of fear and anger. Now, I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again in case you guys, whoever's listening, didn't hear me say it in the past. But a lot of people think fear is the opposite of love, or anger is the opposite of love. It's not. Fear is not the opposite of love. Love does not have an opposite, okay? It just doesn't. I'll explain that maybe in another video, but love does not have an opposite. The opposite of fear is anger. Those are the two polarized energies that kind of need each other in order to have a dynamic of manifestation, okay? So, so what I suggest you do overall, just to complete this, is wherever you have repressed anger, wherever you're feeling anger, go beneath that and look at the fear. Now, if your fear is very understandable about the larger situation of the lockdown and what they're doing on this planet, the control, all of it, whatever your fear is about in terms of our larger life that we're all living here right now, you know, you can do something about that, because the fear that you're feeling is probably coming from a sense of feeling out of control. Being out of control is very frightening to any living creature, as I was saying earlier in another way. So what you need to do is, if your fear is being out of control, what you need to do to mitigate that fear is say, okay, what can I do to take control of my life? That's what my last video was about. I'll put a link to that in the comments in case you missed it, how to relieve stress in 2021. Yeah, you need to find ways to take control of your own life, because the more that you do that, the more you're going to find your fear of this bigger picture is going to diminish more and more and more, because you're taking control of your experience again. You don't want to let this outer world and the media control your experience, because we already know what they want. They want you to be in total fear, which is eventually going to put you in a state of anger and maybe even have you vacillating back and forth between the two things. Okay, so I hope that all makes sense to you guys. I really love this card because it was just such a great opportunity to talk about this. Yeah, I guess it's not really a typical reading, but I think it's information that we really need to be mindful of, so that we don't get caught in the downward spiral of fear and anger that this larger planet-wide situation is designed to bring us into. Okay, so I hope you guys have found that very helpful. Have a peaceful week, take good care of yourself, and I will see you guys in the next video, and sending you all so much love. Again, I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. Much love, everyone. Namaste.